Prime Minister reshuffles ministers. Court finds Western leaders guilty. And growing concerns for re-entry of uni students in 2017.
This is National EMTV News with Lorraine Genia.
Good evening and welcome to Tuesday's news. The Governor-General, Sir Michael Ogyeo, this afternoon officiated at a swearing-in ceremony of a State Minister and a Parliamentary Secretary. Member for Talasia, Francis Maros, was sworn in as a Minister of State, and member for Usino Bundi, Anthony Yagama, as Parliamentary Secretary, assisting the Minister for Public Enterprises and State Investments, William Duma. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill also announced a few changes in the Cabinet. They include Francis Maros as Minister for Higher Education, Science and Technology, Malakai Taba as Minister for Transport and Infrastructure, and Nixon Duban as Minister for Petroleum and Energy. Commenting on the changes, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill said the ministers appointed have vast experiences in the respective portfolios they have been appointed to, having served in those portfolios previously. The National Courts in Port Moresby will hand down its decision in the contempt of court case involving Eastern Highlands Governor Julie Soso. Soso was convicted on June 28 by the Waigani Supreme Court after the court found that she signed a letter appointing Alvin Inamoy to assume the provincial administrator's post despite court orders to the contrary. She was convicted by a three-man bench which included Justice David Cannings, Justice Alan David and Justice Polume Kiele. Soso is the first female governor found guilty of contempt. The Waigani National Court today found Western Governor Ati Wobiro guilty of conspiracy and misappropriation of 7.9 million kina. Two other persons also guilty of the same charges, a Western Provincial Administrator Dr. Madoa Gumoy and local businessman Norman May. The court found that the trio conspired to set up the Flycare Foundation and used over 7 million kina, money belonging to the provincial administration.
56-year-old Western Governor Ati Wobiro from the Wipim village in South Fly Electorate was found guilty of 4 counts of conspiracy to defraud the state and 4 counts of misappropriation of the 7.9 million kina public funds. Between November 10 and December 15, 2013, Wobiro, along with his co-accused Dr. Modoa Gumoy and the chief of Fly Care Foundation Norman Carl May, in a memorandum, agreed to establish the foundation to deliver projects in the province. However, the court found that the project was not tendered according to the Public Finance Management Act, where every project amounted above 5 million kina must be tendered. The court found that the agreement had no tendering documents and no details of the agreement. The three will now be waiting for their sentencing. Vasenata Yama, National EMTV News.
The casket carrying the body of Johnny Leo, a PNG student studying in Philippines, arrived in Port Moresby yesterday. Johnny Leo was stabbed to death by another PNG student in Manila. The family, while still in shock, are relieved their son has returned to Papua New Guinea to be laid to rest.
22-year-old Johnny Leo was stabbed to death by a fellow Papua New Guinean in the Philippines. He is a final-year economics student and studies at the Adamson University in Manila. An investigation into his death is currently underway, and Kuru Rampi from Western Highlands, also a student in the Philippines, has been charged for his murder. Yesterday afternoon, his body was transferred from the funeral home to his cousin's house, where relatives gathered to mourn. Stanley Mark, the cousin of late Johnny Leo, today said that Johnny was a leader in the family.
Wilson, he greets and loves. He always wants to be around people of different races and places. I bet that is the reason, one main reason why he himself made it possible um, in regards to the contributions that went in to bring his body back to PNG.
Johnny Leo was expected to finish his studies and return to PNG next April. Stanley Marks said the manner of his death was shocking, but at the moment the family wanted peace and to lay their son to rest.
We are mourning for our leader, our brother, who's a very young man that, just left us just like that. We're leaving it to the law now.
Winston Mania, another friend of Johnny, who accompanied the body to PNG, said that Johnny was a leader amongst the students studying in Manila. He said his death was still a shock to many, but he was a friend to many, and the contribution that family and friends contributed in the Philippines was overwhelming.
In Manila, like all the PNG students, they all used to look up to him as he's a leader.
Thank you goes to all the classmates and Windon and all the schoolmates and friends, Filipino friends and families, as well as Papua New Guinean friends and families living in Papua New Guinea, as well as the students in Philippines for their full support in sending Johnny over.
The body of late Johnny Leo will leave for Hagen tomorrow. Adelaide Xerox, Kari National, EMTV News.
2 people are seriously injured and several houses burned to the ground in retaliation for the death of a Sipik man at the Nagata settlement in Madang. He was believed to have been killed in a hit-and-run accident over the weekend. The houses were razed in retaliation to his death. Former Police Commissioner Jeffrey Vaki will stand trial at the National Courts in Port Moresby on August 19. Vaki appeared before Justice David Cannings with his new lawyer Paul Othis this morning. The trial was listed for hearing last Friday but was adjourned to this week after Vaki submitted for a change in counsel. This case is in relation to the warrant of arrest on Prime Minister Peter O'Neill in 2015. Vaki is facing a charge on abuse of office. Among stories when we come back, more students received tickets to return home following the termination of the academic year. Stay with us. Welcome back to Tuesday's news. The re-entry for students attending the University of Papua New Guinea next year is now a concern for sponsors. An officer from the Sinasina Yongmul district expressed this while distributing return tickets for Sinasina Yongmul UPNG students. Over 60 students were presented tickets recently to return to Chimbu and back to their homes.
It's been over a month since the UPNG shootings took place, resulting in the announcement of the closure of the academic year. For some, quick response from parents, political representatives and sponsors helped students to return to their respective provinces. This week, displaced students from the Sinasina Yongmul district were presented tickets by the district. While presenting the tickets, district officers raised concerns for the 2017 academic year.
Your re-entry is another thing that all by causing problem. But I think they have been inconsiderate.
With the disruption of the second semester, the Higher Education Department made it clear during the student unrest that all government-sponsored students under the ECAS and TESAS will be forfeited and for students to reapply. But for the Sinasina Yongmul students, going home is what they have been waiting for.
So all of us, we are going home, and that's the thing that we have been thinking about all these 2 times, 2 weeks. We will think about it. Now our problem is solved.
We have our limits. We struggle, and we'll go home. So thanks to all the students. Thanks for being patient.
Students have started traveling out of Port Moresby early this week. Jack Lapave, Junior National, EMTV News.
Meanwhile, since the cancellation of the UPNG academic year, many students have been left stranded in Port Moresby awaiting repatriation funds. The students are also confused after the premature end of the academic year. Third-year law student Godfrey Bitari is one of them who has been living with relatives uncertain as to whether he will be able to continue studies next year.
The cancellation of UPNG's academic year has affected many students and parents as repatriation efforts seems rather lacking. EMTV spoke to a few students living outside of Port Moresby who voiced their concerns and uncertainties regarding UPNG's 2017 academic year. One student in particular is third-year law student Godfrey Bitari, who has taken the narrow road to remain in Port Moresby.
And the basic reason being my place where I come from in Bougainville is not economically viable. Meaning I would be able to raise up fees for next year, given this short period of time.
Mr. Bitari hails from the autonomous region of Bougainville, and though many students living in the outside centers have left for their home provinces already, Mr. Bitari currently remains in Port Moresby, housed by relatives. Mr. Bitari, a current Hacker Scholarship holder, further raised concerns on the scholarship programs offered by the Higher Education Department and whether he would still be holding on to his Hacker Scholarship next year.
We were advised by the higher education officers, people responsible for scholarships, to reapply for a Hacker sponsorship. And that raises a lot of questions, so uncertainties as to whether I am guaranteed a scholarship sponsorship.
Another concern of the students is the university's council call not to reimburse students' semester fees. EMTV spoke to UPNG's acting chancellor, Dr. Nicholas Mann, who stated the first semester fees would not be reimbursed solely because the university continued to facilitate the students during the boycott. He added that the second semester fees will be carried on to the 2017 academic year. He confirmed that no student had been dismissed from the university. Nicholas Pornhelen, National EMTV News.
The U.S. Embassy has announced the two successful recipients for the 2016 to 2017 Fulbright Graduate Scholarship Program. They are Eli Dire, a research analyst with the Bank of Papua New Guinea, and Poigeno Nazila, a standards engineer with the National Broadcasting Corporation. Both were selected for their academic merit and leadership potential. Mr. Dire will commence his master's program in economics at Kent State University in Cleveland, Ohio, while Mr. Zilla will enroll at Northeastern University's master's degree in telecommunications systems management in Boston, Massachusetts. The J. William Fulbright program is the flagship international educational exchange program sponsored by the U.S. government to increase mutual understanding between the people of the United States and the people of other countries. The vast landmass of the Kairukuhiri district in Central Province is hampering the delivery of services, says local MP Peter Isoaimo. MP Isoaimo said the district is stretched and the electoral boundary needs to be separated by the Electoral Commission. He made these points while addressing Koyari landowners yesterday over development matters.
It's not the first time members of parliament have expressed the need to create new electoral boundaries by splitting their district into two. Yesterday, the Kairukuhiri MP raised his concern over the difficulties the district faces in providing equal development to his people.
I keep telling the government, I am a one electorate with two districts in it. You know, I have two electoral offices. The Hiri electoral office is in Konedobu. The Kairuku electoral office is in Berena, which are 3 hours apart.
Isoaimo believes the separation of Kairuku from Iri will help the district focus more in maximizing the outcomes of development plans, given the 10 million DSIP annually.
Funding is very, very limited. With whatever funding allocation is dispersed upon us or our leaders, to be able to carry some of those burdens.
For Kairukuhiri, road infrastructure is the major development agenda in linking the people to basic services of health and education. Iso Aimo's call was supported by Trade Commerce Minister Richard Maru, stating the Electoral Commission should consider this concern.
It is very difficult to run an electorate like this. That's right. So meeting Webla, report Blomigo, committee Blomigo said, we must support the splitting of the electorate. That's right.
Similar concerns have been raised by MPs in West New Britain, East Sepik and governors of Hela, Enga and Western provinces. Jack Lapave, Junior National, EMTV News.
A good report from the Police Commissioner and available funding from government will determine whether or not a by-election for Hela Province will be held. PNG Electoral Commissioner Patilius Gamato made the comments recently in a media conference. A three-man Supreme Court bench has closed the court file involving Vanimo Green MP Belden Nama this afternoon. This means the matter has been sent back to the National Courts in Port Moresby to continue court proceedings. Nama brought the matter to the highest court to seek legal interpretation on whether the Chief Justice, Sir Salamo India, was unable to act in his capacity as the head of the Judicial Services after Nama stormed into the courtroom in 2012.
It was a unanimous decision which was handed down by Justice David Kennings on behalf of Justice Alan David and Justice Colume Kile. Nama was present in court when the decision was made. This case is in relation to 15 counts of misappropriation allegations against Nama as member for Vanimo Green. During the National Court proceedings in Port Moresby, a leadership tribunal was appointed to investigate these misappropriation allegations. The court heard that on the 24th of May 2012, Mr. Nama stormed into courtroom 3 of the National Courthouse where the Chief Justice was presiding over a case and shouted for him to be arrested. The Chief Justice was arrested and charged and later released upon his own discretion. Nama then filed an application in the Supreme Court to seek legal interpretation on the powers and responsibilities of the Chief Justice. This afternoon, the court found that the CJ is a victim on one end while a witness on the other, as he was the presiding judge when Nama stormed into the courtroom. In this circumstance, the court ruled that according to the organic law on duties and responsibilities, the most senior judge after the CJ will appoint a leadership tribunal because the plaintiff holds a leadership office. Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
And now looking at our finance news, the Kina closed unchanged at $0.3155 US in the interbank markets. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying $0.3080 US, $0.4092 Australian dollars, $0.2771 euro, and 32.25 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, coffee, cocoa, and copra closed the day lower. Crude oil is trading higher, while palm oil and copper closed the day lower. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 53 points lower. The ASX is trading at 16 points lower, and the All Ordinaries is trading at 14.81 points lower. In New Guinea to begin flights to the Federated States of Micronesia. That story and more after the break. Welcome back to the news. A local poultry farmer, Wilson Bogan from Butibam village in the Ley district of Morbe province, is appealing to the provincial government to assist local poultry farmers. His call was in response to complaints raised by farmers who have been making losses after their customers stopped buying live birds from them. The customers instead purchased their stock at a lower price from a local company.
Wilson Bogan lives at Butibam village. He started his poultry business in 2009. Like many local poultry farmers, this is his source of income. His livelihood depends on it. The profit he gets goes to buying his children's school fees, clothing, food, and other basic necessities. It takes about 6 weeks to look after the chicks until they are ready for sale. A box of baby chickens costs about 200 kina, and almost 100 kina to purchase a 40 kg stock feed bag for 6 weeks until they are ready for sale. Now it takes up to 9 weeks for him to sell out his chickens, and the profit he makes now has dropped compared to the previous years.
The biggest thing is okati business na midwan na wako plan sales na.
But he says this year is a tough year for him. His business is not growing as he expected and is losing customers. The demand for live birds has dropped. Bogan adds this is because the local firm has now gone into selling live birds. The firm operates as an industrial business in coffee, agribusiness and poultry sectors. I have made several calls to get a response from the organization since yesterday but was not successful. Wilson Bogan is appealing to the provincial government to have a dialogue with the concerned companies so that the business can be given back to them. He says most farmers back in the rural communities depend on this business, and this is only unfair for them as this is their only source of income. Mata Luis, National EMTV News, Ley.
Morbe Education Division officers covered a workshop on the 5-year Provincial Education Plan last week. The 10-year Provincial Education Plan 2006 to 2016 will expire at the end of this year. The new 5-year plan will contribute to the national plan towards achieving Vision 2050, a smarter, happy, healthy and wealthy population.
The officers of Morbe Education Division, including the Senior Professional Advisor for Education, District Education Managers, and the Provincial Program Education Advisor, worked on the 5-year Provincial Education Plan in Ley last week. The Provincial Education Plan is developed by provinces in the country. Morbe Education officers were assisted by the Acting Regional Statistic Planning Officer for Southern, Kaminiel Irima, who was in the province to help develop the 5-year plan.
It will be a 5-year plan from 2015 to 2019. The plan is going to be aligned to the National Education Plan, which we have already developed.
The new developed plan is aligned with the National Education Plan, which provinces are using to develop the 5-year Provincial Education Plan. Schools throughout the provinces should be able to use it to implement their activities. The 5-year plan will contribute towards achieving Vision 2050.
Smarter, happy, healthy, wealthy population by 2050.
Previously, the provinces were using the 10-year plan, which has lessened to 5 years, so it can be easily monitored and evaluated.
10-year plan is quite a long period duration where it was difficult to evaluate and monitor and evaluate. So we are now embarking on the 5-year plan, which is easier to monitor and evaluate.
There are 6 focus areas of the National Education Plan that the provincial plan covers. These include access and equity, teachers and teaching, and system strengthening. The National Planner Kaminiel Irima encouraged provinces to assist national planners to develop their provincial plan. Julie Badwi Owa, National EMTV News, Ley.
National flag carrier Air New Guinea is soon to commence flights to the Federated States of Micronesia. The announcement was made by Chief Executive Officer Simon Fu. The flights will begin next month.
In September, Air New Guinea will commence its first flight operations to the Federated States of Micronesia. The inaugural flight coincides with the Pacific Leaders Meeting organized by the South Pacific Forum. Chief Executive Officer Simon Fu has met with FSM's Assistant Secretary for Civil Aviation, Marseille Holbert. In a press statement from the Corporate Affairs Department, 3 special flights to Chuuk and Phonfei are scheduled for September 1, 7 and 10. Mr. Fu said the test tourism flights, if proven successful, will allow 2 weekly regular scheduled flights from Port Moresby to Chuuk and Phonfei, operating on Wednesdays and Saturdays. These flights will enable passengers between the Pacific, Australia, Indonesia, Philippines and FSM to connect through Port Moresby, saving time and opening the possibility of stopover tourism within PNG. The direct PNG to FSM flights will also foster closer trade links between industries, including fishing and tourism. Fabian Haklitz, National EMTV News.
Trukai Sports is next. Lewas to prepare for World Cup qualifier and NCD prepare hockey teams for the PNG Games. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The CPL PNG Lewas will now go into the next 7 months of high-performance training in the lead-up to the World Cup qualifiers in England. After their recent win over Japan and Samoa, the team is now looking at improving their fitness levels as they will be meeting bigger bodies like Sri Lanka and South Africa in February 2017. Dinirose Raiko reports.
The CPL PNG Lewas have just returned from Apia, Samoa after attending the East Asia Pacific qualifiers in which they remained unbeatable up against Japan and host Samoa. Now looking forward to the ICC World Cup qualifiers in England, Lewas coach Rodney Maha is aiming to put his team through tougher high-performance training over the next 7 months.
We actually want to be the first team to in the women's department to get into the World Cup.
Maha said it will not be easy to go up against the likes of Sri Lanka, India and South Africa. And the main aim now is to invest in his team's fitness through high-performance training. Cricket PNG chairman Wayne Dogan was pleased with the Lewas performance and said the Lewas achievement is a proud moment not only for Cricket PNG but for the country as well.
Looking forward, this is just the first step for the Lewas. We've got to get through this next qualifier to make sure we do get into that World Cup. So it's a time of looking back and seeing what we did right and what we did wrong during this last qualifier. And following on from that, we'll take all the good bits and then move them forward.
The recent successful tour of the PNG Lewas in Samoa can be a boost for women in sports in PNG. Dinirose Raiko, National EMTV Sports.
With the recent successes of the CPL PNG Lewas and the Hebo PNG Barramundis, the growth in cricket throughout Papua New Guinea is inevitable, with the Barras aiming to improve their standing in their ICC ranking and the Lewas posing as a threat as the Women's Cricket World Cup looms. It will be a busy year for Cricket PNG.
Cricket PNG has busy times ahead as the Hebao PNG Barramundis and the CPL PNG Lewas continue their great form in 2016. With the Barramundis successfully hosting Kenya on home soil undefeated earlier this year, and with their tour to play Australian state cricket teams in August and September, the Barramundis will play host to another home game against Namibia in September. All these will boost the Barras as they vie to improve their associate one-day international rankings. The Lewas, on the other hand, have proved critics wrong as they ran rampant over competitors at the East Asia Pacific ICC Women's World Cup qualifier in Samoa.
It's a great sport, and I think hats off to Cricket PNG as an organization. Recently, I've started quoting Cricket PNG as a role model to all sporting codes of where you guys have come to. So to the administrators, to the coaching staff, to all the people behind Cricket PNG, congratulations to you guys. I think you've done a tremendous job. And it's not many times that we get our teams traveling from Papua New Guinea overseas and bringing back a trophy. So it's a very proud moment, not only for CPL, but the country as a whole. So congratulations.
The continuous improvement of both the Lewas and Barramundis will have a positive impact on the growth of cricket in and throughout Papua New Guinea. Dion Kombeng, National EMTV Sports.
The National Capital District Hockey Association handed in their final selection list for Kimbe to the NCD Sports Desk late yesterday. The executives will endorse final teams to represent the nation's capital in the coming PNG Games in Kimbe. NCD will have both a men and women's team travelling with a coach and a team manager.
The NCD Hockey Association has been running weekend competitions for the last 6 rounds to identify potential best players to make up a final team of both the men's and the women's teams to the Kimbe Games for Team NCD. Every Saturday and Sunday in the last 6 weekends saw their selection matches until yesterday when the final listing was released to NCDC Sports Desk with the names of the players. From the 36 players selected, the team will have 18 men and 18 women with 7 reserves each, with the competition to be played 11 aside. The team will travel with 1 coach and 1 team manager with the rest of the team NCD. This weekend coming will see round 7 of the NCDC Hockey Association competitions. Meanwhile, NCD Hockey Association is pushing to secure sponsors so that the association can host a local tournament in September with affiliated clubs in the association. The 2016 hockey season will end on the last weekend of October. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
With the BSP PNG Games 2016 fast approaching, the host organising committee and technical officers from the PNG Sports Foundation office together held a workshop to better familiarise themselves with the operations come November. Led by PNGSF executives Thomas Kahai and Peter Chalapan, the workshop identified the following: tournament rules, infrastructure and equipment, and officials. President of the PNG Olympic Committee, Sir John Dewanikura, also delivered a keynote speech on the PNG OC's partnerships with the national federations to ensure the Games Charter is in alignment with the rules and regulations of each individual federation. Rugby union, beach, volleyball and golf, that's still to come in Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Draws for the New Guinea Islands Conference of the Export Rugby Championships have been confirmed following the return of AROB Rugby Football Union's Black Orchids and West New Britain Rebels. Round 1 for the NGI Conference kicks off tomorrow in Rabaul. Rabaul Town will host the first of the NGI Conference matches tomorrow. Arab's Black Orchids will be up against the New Island Drongos, while the West New Britain Rebels will have it tough against an informed and well-established East New Britain Kaya's side. 15's rugby isn't as strong in provinces like Bougainville and West New Britain, but what these provincial championships will provide is an avenue for provinces to grow their participation at a competitive level. In the Southern Conference, both Capital Rugby Union teams, the Bormas and Gaigais, will go head-to-head at the Sir John Guy Stadium, while the main match has been set for 3 p.m. between the two developing unions, Daru Stingrays and the Oro Fuzzies. In the third and final conference, Madang Madgowns will also return to the competition with their first match against the Kilituas, who had just fallen short of a victory against the Hammerheads at Scrum Oval on Saturday. Despite beach volleyball claiming gold at the Pacific Games, the sport has been out of the limelight for the past 12 months. The Sporting Code had financial support in the lead-up to the Pacific Games, but more funds are needed now to help athletes attend international events.
President of the Fairfax Volleyball Association stressed his concerns on beach volleyball in the country after many efforts were put into making the code a success during the 2015 Pacific Games. Representatives Kila Dick said nothing has been done to bring players back or to carry out competitions due to lack of financial support.
Impact in the Pacific Games because there was a lot of funding involved. Now we're going back to our normal schedule. There's no funding from the government or anyone else, and therefore it's really a big struggle for many of the sports. But we'll be starting because most of our teams are now concentrating on indoor volleyball. As soon as the national championship is over, then everyone will be focused in the beach volleyball competition.
He is encouraging players to come forward and for individual representatives to start beach volleyball competitions in preparations for international events. Kila, who strongly believes in human development in the country, says sports plays an integral part of human development and people should take initiative in such activities to promote sports in the country.
Well, sports plays a significant role in terms of integral human development. We find that Port Moresby City does not have the natural resources. we have the human resources, and therefore when we organize sports, we give opportunities, we give confidence, and we give trust to our young unemployed kids. And right now with volleyball, we are doing it. Volleyball is a massive sport. It's a big sport. A lot of people play the sport, and as per a survey conducted by PNG Sports Foundation, volleyball is the most popular sport in the country.
Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
To international sports now, Bubba Watson, the world's number 6 ranked golfer, is taking to the skies in his bid to top the rankings. The 38-year-old is one of the stars of this year's US Olympic golf team competing at the Rio Games. In conjunction with his sponsors, Watson has produced a video of what's being called the world's first golf jetpack.
The video was made to celebrate the return to the Olympics of golf after a 112-year absence. The vehicle is an adaptation of the prototype Martin Jetpack P12, including room for golf clubs, sand bottle holders, and other course equipment. Martin Aircraft Company says Watson and Oakley approached them to develop the idea based on the New Zealand firm's pre-production prototypes. Watson says a jetpack would be the perfect way to cut his golf bags and equipment around a course.
Golf is always looking to speed up play, and that's what the jetpack's going to do. The jetpack's going to make the rounds faster, more fun. The biggest advantage I see is the bird's eye view. It's going to give you perspective that you've been missing. You're looking at the course, how to play the course, how to shoot lower scores. It's almost an unfair advantage. This is a game changer.
The firm says the jetpack, which uses vertical takeoff and landing, can land on rooftops covered with aerials and wires and fly into tightly confined areas, making it a practical alternative to traditional helicopters. According to Coca, the jetpack has a composite structure pilot module that protects the pilot in the event of accident and a ballistic parachute system that can deploy and safely recover the aircraft from only a few meters above the ground. There are no current plans to market the golf jetpack as yet, but it's thought in the region of $200,000. Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
The lead up to the Rio Olympics has been a disaster, and now there's another concern. Australia says it won't be moving its athletes into the Olympic Village.
Blocked toilets, leaky pipes and exposed wires. Just a few of the reasons Australia's Olympic delegation says it won't move in here to the Athletes' Village. The 31 towers have been decorated with team signs. But as the village opens its doors to many of the 17,000 athletes and coaches slated to sleep here, controversy on the very first day.
We felt that our building was not safe because of the combination of plumbing and electrical issues. When we did our stress test yesterday afternoon, there were significant leakages from plumbing pipes.
Organisers said hundreds of athletes moved in on Sunday and they were working quickly to resolve problems. Every Olympic village, because of their magnitude, needs some adjustments until it becomes perfect. The important thing is that everything will be resolved before the Games without disturbing athletes. We toured some of the Spartan apartments before inauguration.
There was this discussion about whether or not there would be air conditioning. They didn't want to pay for it, but with the Zika scare, they had to put it in the rooms. Is that right?
Well, they put air conditioning in all the bedrooms, fans in non-bedrooms, but no televisions.
The outdoor space helps compensate. Swimming pools, tennis courts, and bike trails. The U.S. delegation, which expects to have 500 athletes and staff staying at the Olympic Village, said, as is the case with every Games, they're working to resolve quote-unquote minor issues. For the Australian delegation, the problems are far from minor.
Every village has teething problems. It's very difficult to suddenly have 20,000 people in a confined space such as an Olympic Village. I have never experienced, this is my 5th Olympic Games, a village in this state or lack of state of readiness at this point in time.
The latest snafu less than 2 weeks before the start of these very controversial Games.
And that's it for Trukai Sports. The weather details up next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
Another weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In the southern region, generally fine in Port Moresby, fine in Daru and Kerma, showers and rain with thunderstorms in Alotau and likewise for Popondetta. In the Momase region, showers and rain for Ley City, thundery showers and rain for Madang and Wewak, and few showers and thunderstorms for Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, few showers and thunderstorms for Lorengau, few showers for Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul and Kimbe, and showers and rain for Buka. And in the Highlands region, showers, rain and fog for all centres. A strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of southern PNG, Indonesian border, through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerma, to Yule Island to Hood Point, to Milne Bay and all its islands, to western waters of West New Britain, including CSE Islands, Dampier Strait and Finschhafen, through Vitiers Strait, to Long Island to Kaka Island, to southwest waters of Manus, and also southern waters of Bougainville. And now the forecast for small ships, waters of southern PNG, Indonesian border through Torres Strait, and Daru to Kiwai Island, to Kerma, to Yule Island, to Hood Point, to Samurai Island, and with waters of Finschhafen through Vitiers Strait and Dampier Strait, CSE Islands to Long Island, seas of 2.5 to 3.0 meters, with waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, and with waters of West New Britain, seas of 2.0 to 3.0 meters. Waters of Samurai Island to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, seas of 1.0 to 2.5 meters. Waters of Long Island to Madang to Bogia to Wewak to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border, and with waters of New Island to West New Britain, seas of 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas of 1.5 to 2.0 meters, and waters of Bougainville, seas of 2 to 2.5 meters. And ocean forecast for PNG areas. In the Coral Sea, seas rough with southeast winds at 25 to 34 knots. In the Solomon Seas, seas moderate to rough with southeast winds at 20 to 34 knots. In the Bismarck Sea, seas moderate to rather rough with southeast winds at 20 to 25 knots with gusts. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas light with east to southeast with southeast winds at 10 to 15 knots. And before we go, the 14th NCD Schools Career Fair is currently underway in Port Moresby. More than 20 exhibitors from both government and privately owned institutions participated in this event.
The NCD Schools Expo is an annual event organized by a group of guidance teachers from various schools around the nation's capital. Started in 2003, its aim is to provide pathways for grade 12 to further their education and seek employment in both government and privately run institutions.
Well, the theme is knowledge is power. The aim is to provide information to all of our grade 12s from all the students who do grade 12 in NCD so that they have information to decide for themselves what career path they would like to take.
Through this fair, many school leavers were empowered to further education in these institutions, have secured job placements in the country and overseas.
But we are involving the disciplinary forces, the CIS, the police and the defense force. Together, we are carrying the young population who are leaders today for tomorrow to a success.
Also exhibiting at the event is the PNG Defense Force education team led by Major Paul Ageva, who emphasized on its recruitment process. Private institutions include the Asia Pacific Institute of Applied Social, Economic and Technical Studies, Pacific Flying School based in Fiji, DATEC Training Center, International Training Institute, and absolute international education expert.
As it progresses from there to here to today, it is very successful and it's getting bigger and bigger because the population, the grade 12 population in this NCD school, NCD alone is growing bigger.
Essentially, with the Asia Pacific Institute of Applied Social, Economic and Technical Studies, we target students who do not basically make it to system universities and colleges.
Government institutions are University of Papua New Guinea, Jubilee University, Pacific Adventist University, University of Goroka, Port Moresby Business College, Port Moresby Technical Institution, and Sacred Heart Teachers College.
Jubilee Institute of Higher Education is a recognized institution by the government. It has now been recognized to provide higher learning, diploma and degree courses at the institution.
The event will be going on for 4 days and are expecting more participants. Eric Arupma, National EMTV News.
Before we go, our top stories again. The government reshuffles ministers following the no-confidence vote last week. Western Governor Ati Wabiro found guilty of misusing provincial government funds, and Supreme Court refers Belder Nama's case to the National Court. And that's the way it is this Tuesday, the 26th of July 2016. From the entire news team, pleasant viewing. Good night.